Welcome to this new automotive news video for Wednesday, May 27, 2026. Today's agenda covers BYD unveiling a car set to end European city cars, the French government's plan to save Stellantis with 1 billion euros, and the return of social leasing in France, with Citroën already announcing highly aggressive pricing on some models. I hope these topics will interest you. If that's the case, as usual, I count on you to show it by leaving a like, subscribing for the next videos, boosting this one, and of course also by leaving a comment where you share your opinion on today's news. Just before that, I'll add another piece of news for you. Yesterday evening, Lancia unveiled its Gamma. This is Lancia's second new model aimed at relaunching the Italian brand, which is currently struggling to sell. The Gamma is an SUV that adopts the design language first introduced by the Lancia Ypsilon. The front end and light signature instantly recall the city car, as does the silhouette with its elongated glass and black rear pillar. A more vertical rear section clearly recalls other Stellantis models, especially the Peugeot 3008. And that's not a coincidence. It's simply because this Lancia Gamma is basically a rebadged Lancia version of the Peugeot 3008. Gamma will have a rather tricky position within the Stellantis lineup since it's a bit more upscale than the 3008 and just a little below the new DS number 7, which also uses the same technical platform as the 3008. So Stellantis is really giving us 50 shades of 3008. On the engine side, the Gamma will be offered with a single gasoline engine, the 1.2-liter PureTech hybrid with 145 horsepower, and alongside that, several electric versions. The entry-level electric version will have 230 horsepower offering, 540 kilometers of range, and there will be two other versions, 245 and 375 horsepower offering, 740 kilometers and 675 kilometers of range, respectively. These are based on the 97 kW battery made by ACC in northern France, which currently has a wait time of about a year to a year and a half. Basically, that means if you order a Gamma in 2026 with this battery, it will arrive in 2028. Currently, there are no price details, but it's expected to cost more than the 3008 and less than the DS7. I'll update you when Lancia releases official prices. BYD has just unveiled a car that no European manufacturer wants to produce, the Dolphin GDMI. Indeed, most European manufacturers are abandoning small city cars with combustion engines to turn to electric solutions, which are generally more expensive but above all, much less versatile. Try going on vacation with an electric Twingo with its 90-kilometer range on the highway and compare it to an old Twingo one. You'll quickly realize the problem. BYD, rather than betting on the fully electric car, is choosing a plug-in hybrid for its small city car. That's something no European manufacturer offers at all. A European plug-in hybrid city car doesn't exist. It's 4.16 meters long, about the size of a Volkswagen Polo. As for the powertrain, it uses BYD's super hybrid system, which has a pretty surprising feature. It's a plug-in hybrid that can also act as a range extender. The 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder gasoline engine can drive the wheels directly with help from the battery and electric motor. Or it can be used as an onboard electric generator that, using gasoline, produces electricity to recharge the vehicle's batteries while driving in order to extend its all-electric range. This type of powertrain simply doesn't exist among European manufacturers at the moment. The advantage of this technology is that it lets you keep the benefits and versatility of a combustion engine car. That means you can drive a lot of miles without having to stop and recharge. BYD claims a combined range of 1,000 kilometers, and at the same time, it allows for relatively low reported fuel consumption and helps avoid the potential CO2 tax. This car will be made in Hungary, letting BYD sell it in all 27 European Union countries without paying the Made in China tax. According to Stella Lee, who is the vice president of BYD, this Dolphin G is, I quote, going to redefine what customers can expect from a compact car in the era of all-electric vehicles. And that's precisely what's going to spark debate. It's up to you to tell me what you think in the comments, but it's true that while many European manufacturers are gradually abandoning combustion or plug-in hybrid cars and are more or less being forced to turn to fully electric vehicles, BYD is coming in with a completely different and, above all, totally unique proposition. The craziest part is it will be interesting price-wise, even though BYD hasn't announced official prices. They're targeting an entry-level price of about 20,000 euros. At that price, which electric city car lets you drive 1,000 kilometers none. So why are all the manufacturers abandoning the small combustion engine car market to turn to electric? It's because of the regulations. And it's these famous European regulations that Stellantis Europe has just strongly criticized again. This is from Emmanuel Capilano, Stellantis Europe's head. I'll give you a long quote from him. European regulations are killing all the players in the sector and making Europe the most difficult market. Fully electric vehicles have lower profit margins than combustion engine vehicles. So, as electric vehicle sales grow, average margins decline. For A and B segment cars, the smallest on the market, it's very hard to be both affordable and electric today. Today, no European brand is able to offer a vehicle for less than 15,000 euros, whereas there were still about 50 of them 5 years ago, because of higher development and production costs due to electrification and European regulations. According to Emmanuel Capilano, the only interesting categories of electric cars for brands to sell are the C and D categories, so let's say medium and large-sized vehicles, which are more expensive and can more easily absorb the costs of electrification. He remains quite pessimistic about the future of the European industry, reminding us that the European market has lost 3 million annual sales, which is huge over the past 5 years. At the same time, to support the European and especially the French automotive industry, Emmanuel Macron, our great lord and master, has just announced an investment of 1 billion euros in France in the Stellantis factories in Mulhouse. So, quite interestingly for now, this hasn't been confirmed by Stellantis, but we can assume that it will be the case. The purpose of this move is to support Stellantis in producing a new electric model expected by 2029. We've actually reached the point where the only way to make electric vehicles at Stellantis, which absolutely doesn't believe in it, is this. It's to subsidize the entire chain, from A to Z, the sale of the electric car, now also subsidizing its production, and soon even subsidizing its resale on the used market. We'll talk about that later. Overall, it's still good news for the Mulhouse factory, which will survive due to this investment. Today, it only produces the 308 and 408 from Peugeot, models that, to put it nicely, aren't meeting expectations, since the production capacity is 200,000 per year, and for now, the site is producing around 130,000 vehicles. We know that the car that will be made there will be based on the Estella 1 platform, but for now, we don't really know which one it will be, since even the new electric Citroën 2CV won't be produced in France, but actually in Italy, so maybe a new generation Peugeot 208 will see. That remains to be confirmed. So a 1 billion euro investment to save the French automotive industry, a nice sum, but in reality, if Stellantis had wanted to support this factory, it could have easily invested that 1 billion euros itself. The great monarch also announced that a pact had been reached with the main players in the electric car charging network to install 240,000 new charging stations in France by 2030. So that's good news. The bad news is that we're apparently mostly talking about 150 and 350 kWh charging stations here, while Chinese manufacturers are already using charging networks of over 1,000 kWh with electric cars that now have almost instant charging. And the third thing that our Mozart of the automotive industry is preparing, even though it hasn't been officially announced. It was announced by the Minister of Health, because basically this mainly concerns the assistance intended for home care workers, who right now are really struggling, because they have to pay much more for fuel, which is essential for them to do their job. Subsidized leasing for used cars is coming. Will it be open to everyone, or will it be reserved for certain professions, like home care workers or home care nurses? We don't know yet. What we do know is that, once again, the manufacturers must be pleased, because they can get their electric cars subsidized a first time thanks to subsidized leasing. And after 2 or 3 years, when the car comes back to the dealership at the end of the lease purchase agreement or the subsidized long-term lease, they can get the same electric car subsidized a second time to get rid of it on the used car market. For now, we're talking about a second time, but maybe in 3 years it'll be a third time. We know that used cars coming back from social leasing, fully electric, are extremely hard to resell, for the simple reason that because of or thanks to social leasing, there's so little difference in price between a new electric car and the same electric model on the used market. So, well, customers all choose to buy a new electric car rather than a nearly new electric one with low mileage. That's why the stocks of electric cars are overflowing. As soon as the social leasing plan was revealed, Stellantis already announced the prices of some of its models through this program, especially at Citroën, with its electric C3, which is now listed starting at 94 euros per month. The goal here is very clear: to get ahead of the competition and capture a large share of the 100,000 social leasing contracts promised by the government for 2026. Now is the perfect time to reduce stock a little, but also to sell as many electric vehicles as possible and avoid CO2 fines imposed by the European Commission. Interestingly enough, Citroën is even setting up a specific hotline, a dedicated phone number, with a call center to help customers with the paperwork for the social leasing program, in order to make it easier to access government aid. Don't worry, we're not yet at the point where Stellantis is cold calling you to convince you to buy an electric C3 through the social leasing system. Anyway, what do you get for 94 euros a month? You get the electric C3 with 113 horsepower with the so-called urban range batteries, which allow for 205-kilometer range according to the WLTP standard. Let me tell you, even at the best price in the world, it will still be far from the 1,000-kilometer claimed by BYD, which we talked about at the beginning of this video. There you go. Those were the little news updates for this Wednesday, May 27, 2026. I hope you found the video interesting. And if that's the case, as usual, I'm counting on you to show it. Liking, subscribing for future videos, and joining as a supporting member starting at 99 cents monthly using the join button below really boosts my channel. Thanks to everyone who checked it out and watched until the end. See you tomorrow for more. Bye.